The mark on her wrist burned, a searing brand that signaled her doom. He was the Alpha King, burdened by a curse that promised death to any mate he claimed. Now he claimed her. Would she survive his touch, or become another casualty in a lineage of loss? The wind howled its mournful song through the frostbane range, a bitter symphony of ice and ancient pines. This desolate place, where the air itself seemed to steal warmth and every breath was a biting reminder of the wild, was the home of Alpha King Kale Karius. People whispered that love came here only to wither and die, and as the cold wind whipped around Kale's dark, heavy cloak, it was easy to believe. His silver eyes, old and tired beyond his years, looked over his stark, frozen land, reflecting the very emptiness he ruled. He moved with a quiet, almost strange power, the kind that spoke of huge, raw strength held back, a natural grace honed over time. Yet, beneath this strong exterior he carried a deep, painful burden, a family curse passed down through generations of Karius Alphas. He was born to lead, to rule with absolute power, but he was forever cursed never to truly love. Any mate he chose, any heart he dared to open himself to, was meant for a quick, harsh end, a sad sacrifice to the curse that clung to him. It was a cruel, strange twist of fate, wasn't it? To have so much power, to control such a huge area and command such loyalty, only to be denied the most basic human desire, real, unconditional connection. How does a leader, a king with such a heavy destiny, deal with such an unbearable fate? What kind of deep loneliness must that curse force upon him, shaping his every choice, hardening his every interaction, building walls around a heart that secretly longed for what it could never have? One freezing morning, the deep quiet of the frostbane was violently broken by an unexpected and puzzling event. Derek, Kale's beta, a wolf whose loyalty was as strong and steady as the ancient mountains themselves, arrived with news that made no sense. A rogue, a young woman, had been found barely alive in the dangerous, ice-filled Frost River. The river was known for its deadly currents and freezing temperatures, a place where no one survived. The impossible detail, Derek reported, his voice shaky with disbelief, was her healing. She was getting better at an alarming, unnatural rate, far too quickly for any normal person or even a strong wolf shifter. Kale's voice, a low, powerful rumble that demanded instant attention and total obedience, cut through the morning's quiet, with an odd, almost prophetic edge. He ordered her brought directly to the lower cells, his words carrying an unnerving certainty. "If she's who I think she is," he said, his silver eyes distant, focused on something unseen, a future only he could sense, "she won't need questioning. She'll come to me eventually." It was a statement that made even Derek, used to Kale's mysterious ways and strange hunches, feel a cold knot of worry in his stomach. The Alpha King's words often hinted at a deeper, hidden truth. Meanwhile, the rogue, a young woman named Mira, slowly and painfully woke from a thick, confusing haze, a swirling fog of confusion and physical pain. Her whole body ached with a raw, unfamiliar pain, every muscle screaming, every joint protesting the brutal cold she had endured. Her hands, scraped raw and burning with a dull ache, felt strange, almost primal in their sensitivity. The strong smell of wolves, a deep, musky scent that was both unsettling and strangely appealing, filled her senses, overpowering everything else, pressing in on her from all sides. Bits of memory flashed at the very edge of her mind, quick, terrifying glimpses of silver, inhuman eyes watching her from the shadows, just before the river's freezing, crushing embrace had taken her, pulling her down into the cold depths. Had it been a dream, a strong vision caused by extreme cold and the shock of almost drowning? Or something much more real, something that now explained the strange, almost painful throbbing deep within her bones, a feeling that was utterly new? A careful, gentle voice broke through the fog of her pain, offering a small cup of water. "Hello." Eli, a young woman with surprisingly kind, careful eyes, introduced herself, her voice soft and friendly. Eli spoke of Mira's impossible survival, her swift, unexplained healing, something that puzzled them all. Mira, confused and completely unaware of the hidden shifter nature that now surged through her veins, a wild, untamed power she hadn't yet noticed, could only say she wasn't anyone important. She had no memory of a life before the river. But beneath her confusion, something clearly new stirred within her. A raw, deep awareness, a sharper sense of smell and hearing, a feeling of untamed power coiling deep inside her. Dreams, vivid, disturbing, and strangely thrilling, of a sleek, powerful silver wolf began to haunt her nights, preventing true rest, and a burning crescent mark, like a freshly seared brand, throbbed endlessly on her left wrist, pulsing with a hidden light she couldn't explain. What do you think this mysterious, glowing mark means? Have you ever felt an unexplainable, almost scary pull towards something completely new and terrifying, something that suggests a fate you never imagined? The air itself seemed to get heavy with a stifling anticipation as Mira was finally brought before King Kale. His throne room, a vast, impressive place carved from polished, shining ice and deep, dark shadows, felt less like a royal room and more like an old, sacred church built for a grim winter god. Every single step Mira took made something deep inside her stir, a powerful, basic recognition that vibrated deep in her bones, a deep awareness that strangely skipped fear and went straight to a place of natural understanding. It was a connection, a link, unlike anything she had ever known or imagined, a strong bond forming between two beings. Kale's stare, sharp, evaluating, and incredibly intense, met hers across the vast, icy room, holding her captive. He demanded her name. She had no last name to offer, no family to claim, no past to define her, only Mira. His silver eyes, incredibly old, holding the weight of centuries of sadness and power, moved down, landing with unnerving, exact precision on the throbbing crescent mark on her wrist, a mark that seemed to pulse with its own life. A sound, a sharp intake of breath that was barely heard in the huge room, escaped his lips, a raw, uncontrolled reaction. "Moonlooded," he whispered, the single word heavy with a history Mira couldn't possibly understand, a secret knowledge that went back to the very start of their kind. He then, with chilling clarity, revealed the shocking, terrifying truth of her mark, explaining what it really meant. It showed a family line thought to be long gone, a line of ancient healers, powerful fortune-tellers, direct, living vessels of the moon goddess herself. His first shock was clear, a brief moment of weakness, but it quickly turned into something Mira recognized as a fierce, undeniable need to possess her, a basic claim. This possessiveness was mixed, surprisingly, with a deep, almost desperate fear she didn't understand, a fear not of her, but of her power, or perhaps of what her existence, her very presence, meant to him, to his cursed family, to the delicate balance of their world. Then came the bombshell, delivered with a chilling certainty that stole the very air from her lungs, making her head spin. "I know you're my mate." The words hung in the cold, echoing air, suspended like ice shards, followed by a harsh demand that turned her blood to ice, sealing her fate. "You will stay here until I figure out whether to kill you or save you." Rage flared within Mira, hot and desperate, a defiant, basic rebellion against being treated like property, just a pawn in a dangerous game she didn't even know she was playing, a pawn controlled by a man she barely knew. Yet, beneath the anger, a faint, constant throb from her mark pulsed with a deeper, unsettling truth, a truth her instincts recognized even if her conscious mind did not. This mark was connected to him permanently. Later Eli, always the kind one, her face showing worry, carefully brought a small meal of stew and tough bread. In hushed, urgent tones, she whispered the true horror of Kale's family curse. His previous mate had died a terrible, painful death soon after being claimed by him, her life force draining away. "If he marks a mate she dies," Eli explained, her voice barely a whisper, filled with real fear. "It's the curse. Every Karius Alpha." But then, a glimmer of desperate, almost pleading hope in Eli's eyes, a fragile light in the overwhelming darkness. "Kale believes you can survive it. He believes you're different, Mira. He sees something in you no one else has." Could she? Could anyone truly survive such a terrifying, deadly connection, a fate that seemed to promise only sadness and an early grave? What would you do if a powerful, dangerous man, a king, claimed you as his fated mate, knowing that such a claim could very well mean your quick, brutal end, sealing your fate with a single touch? Their training began almost right away, a harsh, unforgiving dance of wills, growing power, and desperate hope. Kale pushed her constantly, his methods severe, unyielding, even cruel at times, but with an underlying current of grim determination. He explained, his voice low and intense, that he would teach her how not to die, how to fight, how to survive the impossible. Mira's frustration was always there, a dull, aching throb under her skin, and humiliation bothered her, a bitter taste in her mouth. Yet, a fierce, determined will burned brighter within her with every bruised muscle, every strained breath, every aching joint. She would not give up. The other wolves of the pack, the warriors, the elders, watched their training sessions with a mix of open judgment, wary curiosity, and quiet, almost morbid expectation. They had seen this ritual many times before, the Alpha's desperate, short-lived hope, always followed by deep tragedy and renewed despair. They waited for the curse to claim its next victim. Then came the key, dangerous scene, a true test of their unproven connection, a reckless gamble with Mira's life. Kale suggested they touch hands, a desperate, forbidden way to measure the strength and nature of their new bond, to see if her unique moon blood could somehow defy the ancient curse. He admitted his fear, the raw, open weakness in his silver eyes surprising Mira, showing a depth of pain she hadn't expected. He feared hurting her, feared repeating the tragic, soul-crushing history of his family line, a legacy of death and loss that haunted his every waking moment. Mira hesitated, a cold, creeping dread seizing her, making her heart beat a frantic rhythm against her ribs. "What if I die?" she whispered, the unspoken terror weighing heavy and stifling between them, the very air thick with unspoken dread. Kale's response was instant, steady, a promise whispered with a basic, absolute force, resonating deep within her very bones. "Then I'll burn this mountain to ash." She took his hand, her fingers shaking slightly against his tough skin, a spark igniting between them. A wave of heat, intense, consuming, and almost painfully overwhelming, washed over her, threatening to engulf her entirely. Flashing visions, broken and terrifying, hit her mind, a rush of images. Kale's agonizing past, flashes of blood, the piercing sound of screaming, the image of a huge silver wolf consumed by unimaginable loss, a painful echo of the curse's toll, an ancient sorrow. Mira gasped, a sharp, choked sound, her body shaking, but miraculously she didn't die. Her mark, instead of burning with destructive fire, pulsed with a strong, almost painful energy, a raw, undeniable power waking within her, surging through her veins. "You didn't die," Kale whispered, his voice thick with disbelief and a fragile, almost unbearable hope, the words themselves a miracle whispered into the cold air. Mira's own realization hit her like a lightning bolt, a deep, undeniable truth waking within her. Something changed. She had seen his past, yes, the burden of his curse, but mixed with those dark visions she had also seen glimpses of his future. And clearly, undeniably, she was in it. Kale's inner struggle was a storm, a violent mix of feelings, fear fighting hope, despair battling desperate longing. The bond hadn't killed her. In fact, a faint, glowing light had come from her, a visible sign of her strength, her uniqueness. He was terrified, yes, by the unknown, by the boldness of this hope, but also undeniably, excitingly, terrifyingly hopeful for the first time in his cursed life. Do you think this new connection, this defiance of an ancient curse, will ultimately save them, a way to truly break the chain, or will it simply lead them to a more tragic, more painful end? Their fragile, hard-won peace was suddenly broken by the arrival of Ruvon, a rival alpha, golden-haired and radiating an aggressive, challenging energy that bristled with barely controlled threat. The ancient council, their eyes fixed with an almost hungry stare on the Moonlooded girl, as they called her, demanded Mira be given to them, seeing her as a dangerous oddity, a possible threat to their established order. Ruvon, made bolder by the council's pressure and his own ruthless goal to expand his territory and power, openly challenged Kale for her, a public show of disrespect to the Alpha King. The fight that followed was brutal, a raw, basic show of power that shook the very ground of the Frostbane. Bones cracked with sickening sounds, and when Mira shifted for the first time, a powerful white wolf emerged, sleek and strong, her fur the color of freshly fallen snow, radiating an ethereal glow. She fought with a ferocity that surprised even herself, protecting Kale with a primal instinct. The very ground trembling and breaking under the force of their angry fight, as if the earth itself protested their struggle. It was a fierce fight for control, for land, for mate, for pack, a clash of two giants. As Kale, for a frightening moment, stumbled under Ruvon's constant, cunning attack, a desperate, guttural cry tore from Mira's throat. It wasn't just a scream of fear, it echoed through the air, vibrating with an ancient, powerful energy she didn't know she had, a sound that reached Kale on a basic level. Kale's eyes, even in the wildness of battle, snapped to her, his focus pulled like a magnet, and a surge of raw, untamed power burst from him, a force he had never felt before, a direct response to her call, a bond getting stronger. This surge pushed Ruvon back, sending him reeling with a howl of pain and confused anger. "I felt you call me," Kale whispered, his voice rough with awe and disbelief as he changed back, his gaze fixed on hers, a fierce need to protect her in their depths. "I've never heard my mate's voice during a shift before. Never felt such a pull, such a strong command." Mira's response was a revelation, a spark of defiance and growing hope, a whisper of a new truth. "Maybe we're not like the others, Kale. Maybe we are meant to break the rules." A growing understanding, a deep, unspoken trust, began to form between them, forged in the heat of battle, a connection that went beyond the curse. The outside threats kept growing, constant and overwhelming, pushing in from all sides. Sir Velistra, an ancient, powerful sorceress and the calculating leader of a huge army, marched directly on Frostborn Keep, clearly demanding the Moonlooded girl, her voice echoing with dark magic. Kale, always the protector, his instincts screaming to shield Mira from harm, desperately wanted to keep her safe, far from the approaching storm, to hide her away. But Mira, her moon blood stirring with a fierce, strong purpose, a new kind of power waking, insisted on fighting, on standing by his side. "I carry moon blood," she declared, her voice firm and steady, filled with new strength. "And if you die, I lose you. I will not stand by and watch. We fight this together." And so, going against tradition, they fought side by side, an amazing, almost mythical display of combined strength, a sight that shocked their own pack. Alpha and Moonblood, a force of raw instinct and sacred light, tearing through the enemy lines, their movements a smooth, deadly dance, a perfectly working unit. This bond, made strong in the fire of shared battle, was unlike anything the world had ever seen, a new kind of power, a new kind of leadership. What do you think makes a partnership, whether in love or in battle, truly unbreakable, able to face impossible odds? Velistra, her ancient magic twisting the very air around her, unleashed a devastating curse, a wave of dark energy that tried to swallow them both, to break them apart, to cut their bond. But Mira, guided by an instinct deeper than conscious thought, deeper than fear, made a choice that defied destiny, a choice that echoed through time and space. She bit Kale's shoulder, a deliberate, powerful act of choosing life, of sealing their bond with her own moon-infused blood, a direct rejection of the curse's hold, an act of defiance against fate itself. The curse spell, twisted and broken by this unexpected, moon-filled act, bounced back on Velistra with horrifying, explosive force. With a shriek of rage and total defeat, the sorceress vanished in a burst of dark, consuming fire, swallowed by her own power. The battle ended suddenly, the immediate quiet that followed deafening, broken only by the hard breathing of those who survived. Kale and Mira stood, bloody, bruised but clearly whole, together, their hands clasped. The curse, the ancient, terrible curse that had haunted Kale's family for centuries, was finally, permanently broken. Kale felt her presence in every breath, every heartbeat, the mark's full awakening making their connection complete, making them truly, forever one. But their challenges, as they quickly learned, were far from over. Haras, an ancient wolf of the pack, his eyes holding the wisdom of centuries, his fur as white as the oldest snow, revealed a new, startling prophecy that chilled them to the bone. Mira was the veil's key, born not just to heal but to close it or open it, to control the very line between worlds. Her family line, he explained, carried much more than just the power of healing and prophecy. It held the key to cosmic balance. A new dream, vivid and urgent, hit Mira's mind in the quiet of the night, leading her to a second crescent mark, this one appearing on her hand, mirroring the first, pulling from something else, a deeper, unknown source of power. Haras confirmed it. She was indeed the Veil Walker, a being of huge, unheard-of potential, able to travel between dimensions. Mira then found a broken, incomplete ritual, a way to break the curse fully, not just for them but for their entire family line, through a shared dream walk into each other's deepest minds. It was forbidden, a dangerous journey into the hidden parts of the mind, full of unknown dangers and the risk of madness, but Kale, without hesitation, without question, agreed. Their bond was worth any risk. They entered a mirrored forest, a twisting, ethereal place of their connected souls, reflecting their pasts, their fears, their hopes, their deepest desires. There, in the shimmering, distorting reflections, they faced an entity, a terrifying shadow wearing Kale's tormented face, the very embodiment of the curse, the shared pain and despair of his ancestors. Mira, using her now fully awakened moon-given power, called forth a moonblade from pure moonlight, a weapon of shimmering, celestial energy that hummed with power. With fierce, strong will, she struck the entity, shattering it into a million pieces of swirling darkness, releasing centuries of pain. They then stepped through a door that appeared within the mirrored forest, a gateway to another time, finding themselves in a desolate, frozen tundra, a clear vision of Kale's ancient past. There they saw Kale's earliest ancestor, the first Karius, a figure of sad nobility, making the terrible, soul-binding agreement, "Love is the price." They realized then that the curse wasn't just a punishment for some ancient wrong, but a deep, festering wound, a basic imbalance that twisted reality itself. "The curse isn't just a punishment," Mira declared, her voice resonating with new understanding and a deep sense of purpose. "It's a wound. One we can heal together." They came out of the ritual, tired but determined, knowing with absolute clarity what had to be done, united in their deep purpose. But as they did, a new threat, huge and terrifying, roared outside the relative safety of their keep. Queen Morin, exiled and using dark magic, a being of pure, untouched evil, wanted Mira. And she meant to open a new gate, a way to unimaginable horrors, to tear reality itself apart, throwing their world into chaos. What do you think this gate truly represents, this connection between realms, and what terrifying, permanent consequences could its opening bring to their world? Share your thoughts in the comments. Queen Morin's message arrived, chilling and echoing directly into their minds, a psychic attack. "You sealed it, you cursed us all. I will open a new gate." Mira's resolve hardened, her response fierce and unwavering, a basic roar of defiance. "Then let's give her a throne of bones to sit on, a monument to her foolishness." A fragile, precious time of peace settled over Frostborn, a brief break, a time of quiet rebuilding and growing hope as Kale and Mira ruled, their undeniable bond a living symbol of a love that had defied fate itself, a testament to their strength. Then came the miracle, a bright sign of hope in a world still healing from old wounds. Mira's body began to glow with a soft, ethereal moonlight, and inside her 2 distinct heartbeats pulsed, a symphony of new life, a melody of destiny. Aaliyah, their daughter, was conceived not just in their physical world, but in the realm between realms, born of pure wolf and strong moon blood, a true child of 2 worlds, a bridge between realities. But Aaliyah's birth was not without its bad signs, a hint of the huge power she would hold. The moon turned a deep, unsettling red that night, casting a strange glow, and no stars appeared in the sky, as if the heavens themselves held their breath. Aaliyah didn't cry. Instead, with an unnerving stillness, she opened gold eyes that were rimmed with a startling, almost terrifying red, eyes that seemed to hold ancient knowledge. Eli, always observant, her ancient knowledge stirring from deep within her memory, whispered, "She's not just wolf. She's something more, something completely new." An ancient, long-forgotten scroll, found in the keep's deepest, dusty records, predicted it. "This child will not choose peace, she will forge it." Merc, a strange, reanimated being, Queen Morin's former servant, found Kale and Mira, delivering a dire, desperate warning that held chilling truth. Aaliyah was the gate reincarnated, a living symbol of the veil, a being whose very existence was feared by old magic, by ancient powers. She was something new, a wild card in the grand scheme, a force that could either save or destroy their world. At just 3 weeks old, Aaliyah's powers surged raw and uncontrolled, a chaotic burst of growing energy. She floated effortlessly in the air, a child ignoring gravity. Elemental chaos erupted around her, small storms forming in her wake, and in a terrifying glimpse of her future, she showed an adult reflection in shimmering light, a chilling look at her terrifying potential, her future self looking back at her. She was calling through time, becoming it, a force beyond their understanding, already shaping the very fabric of reality. Selith, Queen Morin's vengeful, power-hungry sister, sensing Aaliyah's growing power and unique connection to the gate, began to actively hunt her, seeking to use her for her own dark goals, to control the ultimate power. To protect Aaliyah until she was old enough, strong enough, to control her huge, unpredictable power, to harness the cosmic energy within her, Mira made the ultimate, agonizing sacrifice. She went through a ritual, a heartbreaking, soul-searing act to remove her bond and her very memory from Aaliyah's mind, cutting their deep connection for Aaliyah's safety, for her chance at a normal life. "Who is that lady?" Aaliyah asked later, her innocent voice tearing Kale's heart apart, a pain he thought he could no longer feel. "She's a story," he whispered, tears stinging his silver-gold eyes. "A beautiful one. And one day, my moon, you'll remember every single detail. Could you, knowing the immense personal pain and emotional cost it would bring, make a sacrifice like that for someone you loved, for their very survival, for their future?" Years melted into a quiet succession of seasons, a period of fragile, guarded calm that often felt like the breathless pause before a storm. Kale raised Aaliyah in the deepest isolation, carefully shielding her from the painful truth of her past, the huge scope of her powers, and the mother she had been forced to forget, every secret a heavy burden on his soul. Aaliyah grew, showing amazing abilities that hinted at her true nature, a force of raw nature in her own right, her power growing with her, yet unknowingly separated from her true family line, from the very core of who she was. Despite Kale's tireless efforts to keep her hidden, Selith's agents continued their relentless, shadowy search for Aaliyah, their presence a constant threat on the edges of their land. Haunting, broken dreams began to trouble Aaliyah, vivid visions of a dark, armored woman, her future self, a chilling sign of what she could become, a path she might sadly follow, a destiny she might choose. Then one lonely morning, a raven, a silent messenger of fate, landed on Aaliyah's window, delivering a single clear note held in its claws. "Do you want to remember who she was? Come to the edge of the world. Come alone." Despite Kale's quiet, consuming fear for her safety, a fear that twisted his stomach, Aaliyah, driven by a strong inner compass and an unending desire for answers, chose to go. Her lonely journey to the edge of the world, a path that seemed to shift and change with her every step, a magical living landscape, began. Along the way, tempting glimpses of her lost memories flashed at the edge of her mind, fleeting and tormenting, like pieces of a forgotten dream just out of reach. At last, she faced a monolith, ancient and incredibly vast, its dark surface reflecting her image, an older, darker version of herself, one that held raw, untamed power, a mirror to her potential. She was presented with 3 clear paths, shining before her like impossible choices, each carrying destiny, memory, power, or ruin. A soft, familiar whisper, airy yet undeniable, reached her from beyond the veil, a voice she recognized deep in her soul, a forgotten echo of deep love. "Aaliyah, my moon, please remember me." She chose the path of memory, her voice firm, steady. The memories flooded her, a rush of agonizing intensity, sharp and clear, her mother's laughter, her gentle lullabies, the boundless, unconditional love she had lost, the pain of being cut off. She screamed, a primal sound torn from her throat, but through the pain, through the overwhelming flood of truth, she remembered everything. Across the world in the Moon Temple, Mira's mark flared, a sign of her own awakening, her spirit becoming solid, her return near, tied to Aaliyah's remembering. The gate now was not just a concept, a vague prediction, but an active, living thing, its key Aaliyah fully aware, fully connected. Selith, sensing Aaliyah's regained memories, her power surging, gained terrifying strength, creating a huge, strange army of gay-torn, twisted beings formed from fear and forgotten magic, preparing for the final, huge fight. What path would you have chosen if faced with such a deep and terrifying decision, knowing the results of each choice? Frostborn was under attack, the calm shattered. Selith's army, a relentless wave of shadows, whispers, and distorted shapes, crashed against the keep's old defenses. Fear spread like wildfire, consuming the ancient pines as fire destroyed the land, and the grotesque gay-torn swarmed, overwhelming their already weak defenses, their numbers seemingly endless. Derek, wounded but unyielding, a true beta, fought bravely, while Eli struggled against the attack, her complex sealing runes barely holding back the tide, her strength fading. Then a presence, bright and powerful, came down from the sky, shifting the balance of the battle. Aaliyah returned to Frostborn, her eyes now flashing with an otherworldly gold and violet, showing a strength and wisdom far beyond her years, a queen reborn. She declared, her voice ringing with new authority and purpose. I was never meant to be ready. I was meant to choose. She would open the gate, yes, but she would do it safely on her own terms to seal it once and for all. In the Moon Temple, its ancient stones throbbing with huge energy, Aaliyah faced Mira's spirit, clear and shimmering with moonlight, a loving ghost. Mira begged her not to open the gate, warning of the immense fear Aaliyah would inspire, the chaos it could unleash, the destruction it could bring. But Aaliyah, with the fierce defiance of a true warrior queen, chose her own path, her own destiny forged in sacrifice. Then let them fear me until I win. Let them fear the shield. The altar beneath them glowed, the light getting stronger, throbbing with ancient raw power. Aaliyah's crescent marks, the twin symbols of her destiny, merged into a single blazing symbol across her back, a brand of divine authority, a mark of her true power. A throne of moon-forged bone rose from the very essence of the gate beneath the altar, claiming her as its rightful keeper. Aaliyah was now its keeper, its ruler, its protector. She stepped out into the chaos of battle, flanked by the now solid, real form of Mira, mother and daughter united, a force of nature, a new start for their kind. The wolves of Frostborn, battered but determined, their loyalty strong, bowed, a silent sign of their new alpha, a respect for the power she wielded. Let them come, Aaliyah commanded, her voice ringing with power and cold defiance, a challenge to the coming darkness. Selith's horde rushed forward, a final, desperate wave of evil. Kale tore through enemy lines, a black blur of unyielding fury, a basic force of destruction. Eli cast sealing runes, complex patterns of light that glowed against the darkness, weaving protective barriers against the approaching chaos. Mira, a magnificent white wolf, her fur gleaming like moonlight, burned shadows with silver fire, her moon blood a weapon, purifying the corrupted land, pushing back the coming darkness. Aaliyah floated above the storm, a goddess of the battlefield, shattering Gaytorn with waves of pure power, turning painful memory into strong weapons, using the past to secure their future. Selith, in a desperate final stand, her eyes filled with wild rage, stabbed herself, her black blood spilling onto the ground, creating a swirling dark mirror that reflected their deepest fears. Aaliyah faced her own dark self within the mirror, the terrifying version of herself that had chosen power over memory, destruction over healing, chaos over order. But Aaliyah, with a deep, almost divine understanding, embraced her dark self, recognized it, accepted it as part of her, and then with a burst of light, released it, taking it in, going beyond it, becoming whole. The mirror shattered, pieces of darkness swirling into nothingness, their power gone. Selith screamed, her voice a desolate sound of total defeat, swallowed by her own rebounding power, consumed by the very darkness she tried to unleash. The gate sealed itself, its frightening presence fading, the immediate danger gone. It was over. For now. What does it truly mean to face and accept your own dark self, to find strength in facing your biggest fears and making them a part of who you are? Peace, soft and gentle as falling snow, finally returned to the Frostbane range. The snow fell, a cleansing blanket over the scarred, war-torn land. Frostborn began to rebuild, slowly but surely turning into a safe place, a sign of hope for all shifters, a testament to their strength. The curse, the ancient, terrible curse that had haunted Kale's family for centuries, was permanently broken, a nightmare finally lifted, a family burden released. Kale and Mira, bruised but whole, forever changed by their trials, came out of the battle, their bond deeper than ever. Kale's silver eyes were now threaded with streaks of gold, a shining symbol of their unbreakable bond, a mark of their lasting love and renewed hope. Mira's second crescent mark, the one on her hand, glowed with a soft ethereal violet light, the clear mark of going beyond, of her power fully realized and part of her very being. Kale, with the quiet dignity and selfless nature of a true leader, willingly stepped down as Alpha King, knowing his time had passed. Aaliyah woke, changed, yet clearly herself, her spirit stronger, her purpose clearer than ever before. At the next moonrise, a solemn, sacred ceremony took place, attended by wolves from all packs. Aaliyah, wise beyond her years, her aura radiating huge power and deep peace, declared to her gathered pack and to all the shifters there, "I am not the gate. I am not the weapon. I am the shield." The wolves of Frostborn howled her name, a loud chorus of acceptance, fierce loyalty, and endless hope that echoed through the mountains. Aaliyah Moonborn was their new alpha, a true leader born of prophecy and sacrifice. Mira, the first Moonblood Queen, her white fur a symbol of her unique power and purity, was accepted and respected by all packs, her wisdom and strength a legend in the making, her story written in their history. Kale, her beloved Alpha King by her side, stood proudly by her side, his gaze filled with love, respect, and a peace he had never known. Derek, Eli, and all the pack members found their new places in this reimagined world, a world they had fought so hard to create, a world reborn. Yet even in the calm of peace, shadows sometimes remained, reminders of how fragile order can be. The hollow fangs, those who disagreed from within, those who held on to old ways or sought power for themselves, still tested the new queen, trying to weaken her authority. Mira, always watchful, her senses sharp, faced a physical challenge from Jiren Clayfong, a betraying alpha who sought to undermine their new order, to cause trouble and chaos, to seize power. But Mira, with a grace born of deep wisdom and a devastating power refined by experience, won, proving her strength and wisdom not just through overwhelming victory, but by upholding ancient traditions, by showing justice and fairness, strengthening the very fabric of their newly formed society and supporting Aaliyah's rule. A message arrived, carried on the chilling whispers of the wind, from Queen Morin's sister, a chilling warning of a new gate, a subtle, unsettling hint of future conflicts, a clear reminder that peace is often a delicate, temporary balance, never truly absolute. Mira, now older, her wisdom radiating with every word, spoke of building the world they deserved, a world of unity and strength, based on their shared experiences. And if another gate ever opened, she vowed, we lead the charge together. Always. The quiet peace settled in, not the absence of war, but the precious, lasting moments between the storms, a time for healing and growth. Aaliyah, her silent power growing with each passing year, her dreams a tapestry of destiny and future purpose, carried a deep promise in her shining eyes. If darkness ever comes again, we will not run, we will not break. We are the white wolves now, and we remember. Years later, a child, wide-eyed with innocent wonder, sat on Mira's lap, asking about Aaliyah fighting herself, a story already passed down through generations. Mira, a soft, loving smile on her lips, replied, "She did, little one, and she won." The child, inspired by the tale of strength and courage, asked to be like her. Mira's gentle reassurance, filled with lasting love and endless hope for the future, echoed in the quiet air. You already are, my little wolf. For legends truly begin in quiet, born from the steady strength and firm choices of those who dare to stand against the darkness. Aaliyah's true destiny, not to merely choose peace, but to become the ultimate shield against all future darkness, was now in undeniable, powerful motion, a legacy continuing through time. What do you hope for Aaliyah's future, for the world the White Wolves built, and for the lasting legacy of the rare White Wolf? Share your thoughts below.